Live, thank you. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I'm having a sore throat, so my voice will be little moderated. And just a moment, is it okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, if you feel that the voice is little low, please let me know. I'll get it fixed. I'll just get the volume increased from the other end because increasing my volume is not feasible. I could have called it off today had it been like, a regular lecture. And like, let's say, had this been there, that we would have been in a position that today's lecture would have been in the midst of any session. I could have requested um, people to just call it off, but चूंकि आज आपका सेशन ही मतलब शुरुआत के बैच का है, तो that's why I think that it's not possible for me to call it off today as such. So just a moment. uh, just a moment, I'm just trying to facilitate the same. Hold on. Mm, please, what have I done because of this health issue? Okay, good afternoon. Vivek, Neha, and Amrit Raj, I can see you. I can see the rest of you as well. So let us start with what we had discussed so far till yesterday. So, yesterday I had given you some homework. I requested all of you to go through the given component associated with the period of enlightenment and the intellectual processes. So, in that process, like yesterday, I discussed with all of you what is the idea of modernity, how modernity is not equivalent to westernization. Modernity is the process of undergoing the phenomena of questioning everything, interrogating everything, not believing things on face value. In earlier times, people had a tendency to believe things on face value. They had a tendency to just accept things on face value. But in present times, what we see is that when we talk about the idea of modernity, we see that everything is questioned. When we question, we try to find reasons. When we try to find reasons, we are being objective and rational. So, this reasoning oriented objective mind is scientific mind. And this scientific approach is one of the key features of modernity. The second feature of modernity, when we talk about it, is related to broader human values. Okay. Do we have to read all the books of the scholars, Dante, Erasmus? No, no, no. Just have to remember the name. That these are the people, these are the thinkers who are associated with this period of thought. That's it, just the name for the name's sake. I'll tell you what kind of questions can be raised and what kind of questions can be expected, can be. So you don't need to be like strained about the fact that do I need to memorize Dante's Comedy and Erasmus and Montaigne? Not even distantly. In 150 words questions, you will be just asked like the basic insight related to a specific period and how those insights shaped the development of sociology, how sociology emerged in the first place. So when we are talking about this period of enlightenment and when we are like reflecting upon the same, we all can see that the period of enlightenment is also contributing to the idea of modernity. So I said modernity is about rational scientific temperament. It is about a reasoning mind, questioning mind, right? Along with that, modernity has a second feature. Modernity also believes in broader human values. So, what is broader human values when we talk about it? So, broader human values is associated with the spirit of fraternity, liberty, equality, treating all the human beings equally, providing equal opportunities to all. Give me a moment, I'll just put some medicine in my mouth. It was easier to call off today's session. Matlab, I've cancelled all my GS classes because of poor health. But because it's a new batch with you people, and many of you are kind of uncertain, कब क्लास होगी, कैसे होगी, ये होगा कि नहीं होगा, कोई गाइड कर दे, कोई बता दे, हाय हाय उफ. So because of that, I was like, सेशन तो रख लेते, चाहे थोड़ी ही देर कर ले, ताकि ये बच्चों को विश्वास रहे कि तो क्लास तो मैम मरते जीते करेंगी. और दूसरी चीज़, that you don't have a fear of loss in the sense कि आज क्लास हुआ नहीं हुआ, कोई मिसकम्युनिकेशन ना हो. Okay, so with respect to modernity, when I was yesterday discussing that modernity is the child, or it's a byproduct of the three phenomena that were occurring in Europe. What were those three phenomena that we discussed? The three types of revolution. So what were those three revolutions when we talk about it? So we see it is the period of enlightenment, which is related to intellectual revolution, then the political revolution in the form of French revolution, and the economic revolution in the form of industrial revolution. All right, so these are the three revolutions that we all can connect with. Okay, everyone is getting it now. With this, as we are substantiating the insights further, we all can, in fact, in the exam, when you have to discuss this concept, you can probably go ahead by explaining it through a diagram also, right? You can talk about, like, let's say when we discuss the same. डार्क एज पे आज तक क्वेश्चन नहीं आया है, वो बैकग्राउंडर है. डार्क एज क्यों पूछेगा? डार्क एज इज नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर इमरजेंस ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी, तो डार्क एज पे आएगा ही नहीं. तो मुझे बैकग्राउंड बताना था तो बताया. प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन देखना है तो मुझे 2 मिनट लगेगा, दिखा सकती हूँ, रुको. सो 2 मिनट होल्ड करो, मुझे अपने डाउनलोड्स में से निकालना पड़ेगा. इफ़ यू वांट टू सी द PYQ डाउनलोड. Just a moment. Not this one. मे बी को पायलट क्यों खुल रहा है भाई? को पायलट नहीं चाहिए. डू मी अ फेवर, गिव मी सम टाइम. मुझे खोजने में थोड़ा सा टाइम लग रहा है. मैं क्या करूँगी ना, क्योंकि एज आई टोल्ड यू दैट आई जस्ट ऑन एन एवरेज share the given previous year questions with the students in the group. तो टेलीग्राम चैनल का हमारा जो अभी ग्रुप बनेगा ना, विच आई एम गेट इन द प्रोसेस, थोड़ा एडमिशन स्टेबलाइज कर जाए तो आई पुट इट. तो when I'll be putting that given sub-segment in the telegram channel, तो वहाँ पे you will be finding the previous year question. तो पिछले 35 साल में एक बार भी डार्क एजेस पे क्वेश्चन नहीं आया है. तो ऐसी कोई भी आय माय शाय चीज़ नहीं पढ़नी है जिसमें पूछ ही नहीं रहा है. सिर्फ इसलिए कि जानना हिस्ट्री के लिए जान लो। जीएस में, हिस्ट्री में वाले एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए, सोशियो में नहीं पूछेगा डार्क एजेस पे, ठीक ना। सो व्हेन वी से दैट सोशियोलॉजी इज द चाइल्ड ऑफ, या हम कह सकते हैं बाय प्रोडक्ट ऑफ मॉडर्निटी, ठीक है। तो मॉडर्निटी कैसे दिखता है? 3 फेजेस में दिखता है। फर्स्ट आई एक्सप्लेन्ड यू व्हाट इज modernity. Then I explained you the components of modernity. Under the components, we'll talk about intellectual revolution, which is period of enlightenment. तो period of enlightenment पे question आ सकता है, something important, ठीक है। फिर after this we all can talk about the political revolution. Under political revolution, we can think of French Revolution and its impact. And then we can talk about the economic revolution. Under economic revolution, here we are talking about capitalism, industrialization. Due to capitalism, the industrial revolution unfolds. Capitalism also gave boost to liberal ideology. Okay, so liberal ideology. Now today we will be reflecting upon these three. That what do we imply by intellectual revolution, what do we imply by political revolution and the economic revolution. ठीक है, तो सोशियोलॉजी इन्हीं का बच्चा है, यही सारे चेंजेस. सो व्हाट इज दिस? दिस इज sociology is a byproduct of or a child of modernity. Why? Because of, when we are talking about the components, what is it? It is era of change. This is the era of change. So what is this change? How is this change happening? It is happening intellectually, it is happening politically, it is happening economically. Is it making sense to each one of you? ठीक है, anyone experiencing any doubt, please feel free to ask. अब सब सुनाई वनाई दे रहा है ना, कोई मतलब दिक्कत तो नहीं हो रही? बोलते बोलते मेरी आवाज़ भी ठीक हो जाएगी, थोड़ी है दिक्कत, लेकिन आई थिंक आई विल कोप अप. So when we are going to start with this, so what is modernity? I have explained it already. Modernity क्या है? अब keywords आप लोग बोलो. What is modernity? Yes, having, okay, so having a, yes, having a scientific temperament. Scientific temperament होने से क्या होगा? You will have a questioning mind. Yes, so you have a questioning mind, you have a reasoning mind, right? You believe in objectivity, you have an objective reflection, right? और क्या होगा? और क्या होगा मॉडर्निटी का मतलब? मॉडर्निटी मीन्स, और बोलो. It will be also believing in the humane attitude, the humane temperament. Yes, it is, when it is humane temperament, then as Amit Raj is suggesting, it will get connected to liberty, equality. Okay, so yes, myths to logics. Yes, we move from myths to logics as Ashna is suggesting. So when we are talking about it, scientific temperament, questioning mind, reasoning mind, objectivity, और उसके साथ साथ हम क्या करेंगे, तो हम देखेंगे एक हमारा ह्यूमेन एटीट्यूड या एक ह्यूमेन टेम्परामेंट भी आ जाएगा. सो we have, when we discuss about it, we can see that we start not believing in face value. So when we say humane attitude, so this humane attitude will give boost to segments like, we can say, एंड व्हेन आई एम राइटिंग ऑल दिस ऑन द बोर्ड, गाल पे हाथ रख के कोई बच्चा ऑनलाइन नहीं सुनेगा. अपना ये जो कल नोट्स मिला था सबको, इस नोट्स का प्रिंट आउट अगर ले लिया है तो साथ में लिख लो, स्पेस होगा. मैंने इसी तरह से स्पेस दिया भी है. और अगर आपने प्रिंट आउट अभी तक नहीं निकाला है, सॉफ्ट कॉपी पे ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, तो पेज पे लिखते जाइए, उसको अटैच करते जाइएगा. या उसी सॉफ्ट कॉपी में अगर एडिटिंग का फीचर है तो जस्ट कीप राइटिंग, डोंट मिस ऑल दिस. In the exam you should make these diagrams. Okay, so humane attitude will give boost to ideas of liberty. When we speak of it, we can also say that it will also give the component of equality and fraternity. Okay, so you can just reflect upon the same. All right, then when we are talking about it, ठीक है. तो अब ये लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी, फ्रेटर्निटी जो ह्यूमेन एटीट्यूड है, ये कहीं ना कहीं हम देखेंगे फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन से भी निकलेगा. ये भी इसको फीड करेगा. थिंकर्स जो हैं, ये थिंकर्स भी इन आइडियाज़ को बूस्ट करेंगे. और जो इकोनॉमिक रेवोल्यूशन में लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी है, ये लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी भी इन आइडियाज़ को प्रमोट करेगा. वाई? बिकॉज लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी, कैपिटलिज्म क्या चाहेगा? क्या अच्छा एक बात बताओ, कैपिटलिज्म को जॉइंट फैमिली अच्छा लगेगा या न्यूक्लियर फैमिली? लॉजिक एक्सपेक्टिंग फ्रॉम यू, व्हाट विल कैपिटलिज्म लाइक, अ जॉइंट फैमिली और अ न्यूक्लियर फैमिली? Why will capitalism appreciate a nuclear family? Because all those who are responding, nuclear family. Yes. Why a nuclear family? Because बच्चे कम होंगे. अच्छा, खर्चे कम होंगे. हाँ, बच्चे भी कम होते हैं तो भी खर्चे कम होते हैं. तो इन कैपिटलिज्म पीपल वांट टू स्पेंड लेस. Good, you're getting guided, because the cost of living will be affordable and individual growth might increase. Okay, nuclear families because of migration to cities. That proves Amit Raj has not only read the notes but also can connect, because they can focus on work. Yes, Prakhar, that can also be said. Hanji, baki bacche, all those who are listening, keep responding. Yes. So, okay, fine. You are able to join the dot that capitalism will give boost to industrial revolution, and industrialization gives boost to urbanization. Urbanization and industrialization gives boost to nuclear family, because in industrial areas or in urban setup, the entire joint family from village cannot migrate. Limited number of members migrate. So in that situation, nuclear family gets a boost. That's what? Okay. Now, in such a scenario, when we are talking about the same, we need to understand something more. And that is, when we are talking about it, we also need to understand that under the given subcomponent of what we are experiencing on ground, we can see that capitalism will need more sales. Capitalism को तो और बेचना है ना सामान. So when capitalism is going to boost or capitalism is going to encourage or push more sales, तो कैपिटलिज्म क्या करेगा? ज़्यादा सेल्स पुश करने के लिए लोगों को कंज्यूम करने के लिए मोटिवेट करेगा. हाउ विल यू कंज्यूम मोर? आप ज़्यादा कब खाएंगे? जब दूसरों पे खर्च नहीं करेंगे. आप ज़्यादा जूते कब खरीदेंगे? जब बहुत सारे डिपेंडेंट्स आपके नहीं होंगे. सपोज इफ़ यू आर लिविंग इन अ जॉइंट फैमिली एंड देन ऑल योर कजन्स, चाचा के बच्चे, ताऊ के बच्चे, बुआ के बच्चे, सब आप ही पे डिपेंडेंट हो. ये दीदी कमाएंगी तो हमारे स्कूल का फीस भरेंगी या कॉलेज का फीस भरेंगी, या भैया कमाएंगे तो हमारे ये काम करवाएंगे, वो करवाएंगे. तो फिर दीदी या भैया ज़्यादा जूते कहाँ से खरीद पाएंगे, कपड़े कहाँ से खरीद पाएंगे? सो यू कैन गेट इन टू कॉन्स्पिकुअस कंजम्पशन. फिर नया वर्ड आया, कॉन्स्पिकुअस कंजम्पशन. व्हाट इज कॉन्स्पिकुअस कंजम्पशन? व्हेन यू आर इन टू अननेसेसरी कंजम्पशन, ओवर इंडल्जेंस विथ गुड्स. ठीक है. सो what we see is that due to industrialization and capitalism, a new cultural temperament, a new economic temperament will be built. What is this new economic temperament? What is this new cultural temperament? So we all can see that people get into the tendency of consuming more, right? And when we see that people get into the tendency of consuming more in that given situation, we all can see that लोग ज़्यादा खाएंगे कब? When will people have a tendency to consume more? Because what will happen? They will consume more when they feel having less responsibility, है ना? Less relationship, less responsibility. Joint family में ज़्यादा relationship, ज़्यादा responsibility, ज़्यादा cooperation. तो because of that we all can see that people, when they want lesser responsibilities, in that situation everyone has a tendency to grow more, and along with that the individual will be focusing more on individual individual's own growth, right? जैसे मान लीजिए किसी की पूरी जॉइंट फैमिली रह रही है, there is a widowed, like let's say father sister, means paternal aunt, बुआ. सो मान लीजिए बुआ जी हैं, विडो हैं, वो भी रह रही हैं. सपोज दादी माँ है, वो रह रही हैं, दादाजी हैं, वो रह रहे हैं. सो grandpa, grandma, like paternal aunt, parents, and two children. And suppose that widowed, paternal aunt, that is buaji, she is also having a child. So now the father, who is the sole earning member, he is having a lot of dependents. He has to take care of everyone. But suppose if it is only the mother and the father with one child, so he is having only two dependents. So when can the father purchase more shoes for himself, more clothes for himself, when there are lesser dependents? So capitalism not only gave boost to industrial revolution, it also encouraged urban settlements. Urban settlements were in favor of nuclear families. Similarly, the economic condition also encouraged consumerism. Only when individuals will consume more, there will be more sales. When there is more sales, a capitalist will make more profit, right? So for making more profit, what do we need? For making more profit, what do we need? More sales. More demand, more sales. So we'll see that the economic revolution also triggered more consumerism, more individualism. समझ में आया? तो लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी क्या करेगा? तो लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी एक नई थॉट प्रोसेस को भी बिल्ड करेगा. एंड व्हाट विल बी दैट न्यू थॉट प्रोसेस व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी? So liberal ideology will encourage individualism when we talk about it. So individualism, consumerism, ठीक है, ये सब टर्म्स एग्जाम में लिखना है. सो इंडिविजुअलिज्म को बढ़ावा देगा, कंज्यूमरिज्म को बढ़ावा देगा, है ना? तो जब इंडिविजुअलिज्म बढ़ेगा, इंडिविजुअल सेंट्रिक आइडियाज बढ़ेंगे, तो यही इंडिविजुअलिज्म क्या करेगा? फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन वाले आइडियोलॉजीज को भी बूस्ट करेगा. दैट इज इक्वालिटी. इंडिविजुअलिज्म, जब इंसान को बराबरी का हक मिलेगा, वो खुद को इंपॉर्टेंट फील करेगा, तभी तो अपने पीछे खर्च भी करेगा. If you feel that I am nobody, I have to live for my community, family, society, why will you indulge in consumerism? If you have a sacrificial mode in your mind, I have to sacrifice for my family, I have to sacrifice for my community. If people are not happy in my community, not well fed, well covered, well protected, people in my family are not well fed, well covered, well protected, then how dare I have a very luxurious life? That will be so selfish and insensitive. If a person has this attitude, the person cannot get into consumerism. है कि नहीं? है कि नहीं? सोचो, अगर कोई बंदा अपने परिवार, अगर बहुत बड़े परिवार को, कम्युनिटी को, समुदाय को अगर इज्जत करता है, प्यार करता है, तो अपने पीछे खर्च नहीं करेगा. अपने पीछे कब खर्च करेगा? When shall an individual indulge in self? When the individual is not bothered about others. तो उसके लिए कैसा एटीट्यूड दिमाग में होना चाहिए? इंडिविजुअलिज्म का, कंज्यूमरिज्म का. और ये इंडिविजुअलिज्म, कंज्यूमरिज्म की खोपड़ी कहां से डेवलप होगी? फ्रॉम वेयर वी विल डेवलप दिस एटीट्यूड? from the liberal ideology, the capitalist ideology. Got it? So it's the liberal and capitalist ideology which is encouraging consumerism and individualism. ठीक है? यही लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी मार्केट को कैसे इंपैक्ट करता है? तो मार्केट को बनाता है, बताओ, सुना होगा इकोनॉमी की क्लास में, हैव यू हर्ड लेसेस फेयर? सुना है हाँ कि नहीं? सो व्हाट वाज लेसेस फेयर? यस, व्हाट वाज दिस लेसेस फेयर? बताओ. Yes, yes, yes. What is this? The policy of non-interference. Okay. The policy of non-interference. That the state shall not interfere beyond a point in the functioning of the industries. Okay. So the policy of non-interference. किसका non-interference? गवर्नमेंट का. ठीक है. गवर्नमेंट किसको नहीं इंटरफियर करेगी? कैपिटलिस्ट के बिजनेस को. ठीक है. कैपिटलिस्ट के काम को, कैपिटलिस्ट के बिजनेस को गवर्नमेंट इंटरफियर नहीं करेगी. दिस व्हाट इज लेसेस फेयर. और उसके बाद फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमी. So we all can see that liberal ideology gives boost in terms of market. This is the impact it will create. And liberal ideology with respect to the individual, what impact is it creating? So it is encouraging consumerism. It is encouraging individualism. Individualism बढ़ेगा तो equality, liberty, ये सब वाले ideas और मजबूत होंगे. पहले when there was the time period of monarchy, what did we see? monarchy के टाइम पे बताओ. when there was the king, राजा के समय क्या था? no one considered himself or herself equal to the king. they're like, no baba, they are the king and queen, we are the lesser mortals. So no one thought of equality, no one thought of liberty. Is it making sense? So with the king you're not feeling equal. But what happens when you start talking about democracy? When you start talking about political ideas like democracy, secularism, you say all religion are equal. Everyone is equal before law. The state shall treat every citizen equally. तो ये तीनों आपस में एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं when we talk about it. So we all can see that the liberal ideology is giving boost to democracy. It is capitalism which is also paving way for democracy. Is it making sense? Is it making sense now to each and everyone? Yeah? So, let us move ahead and let us see the given subsegment further. What is mentioned? We'll get back to this diagram once again. So, yesterday we were discussing about the period of enlightenment. So, period of enlightenment से पहले इसका background मैंने दिया कि यूरोप में several changes हुए. There are different phases. तो सबसे पहले हम देखते हैं डार्क एज आया, 1st to 12th century. This is not period of enlightenment. तो डार्क एज सबसे पहले आता है, फिर आता है रेनासा, और रेनासा के बाद तीसरे लेवल पर आता है एनलाइटनमेंट. ओके, सो एनलाइटनमेंट इज व्हाट वी कैन कंसिडर दिस इज पोस्ट रेनासा. हम रेनासा उसको प्रोनाउंस करते हैं, रेनेसांस लिखते हैं. So enlightenment is post Renaissance. Post Renaissance means after the period of Renaissance. मतलब 17th century के बाद. ठीक है? So now we are discussing in greater detail. Greater detail what? How modernity is unfolding. So enlightenment is what? What did I say? It is the intellectual revolution, या इसी को intellectual modernity बोल सकते हैं. What is this intellectual modernity? So we all can see that this intellectual modernity is associated with several agents of change. There are several people who are facilitating this intellectual modernity on ground. Like, first and foremost, we can think of the scholars. So scholars, like, and remember, in the exam you don't have to get into the details of it. There is a fair possibility you won't be able to write so much until and unless 250 word question is asked. Sorry, 250 word nahi, 20 marker 300 word question is asked. आज तक अगेन पिछले 35 साल से यूपीएससी ने सिर्फ एक कंपोनेंट को उठाकर 20 मार्कर क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा है. अगर पूछ रहा है कि हाउ हैज एनलाइटनमेंट शेप्ड द इमर्जेंस ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी, 10 मार्कर. हाउ हैज फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन शेप्ड द इमर्जेंस ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी, 10 मार्कर. How has capitalism or industrial revolution or economic change shaped the emergence of sociology, 10 marker. When does it become a 20 marker? When we see both are combined. Like, how does the political change and the intellectual revolution or the intellectual ideas pave the way for the emergence of sociology? अगर दो का कॉम्बिनेशन होगा, if two are combined, then only we can see, then only we can expect what? A 20 marker question. Okay, so you should also know how questions have to be prepared. So what we are going to read, the under the period of enlightenment, it has qualified only under 150 words. Now, one more piece of advice which I can give to all of you, because a lot of you are also attending the session online. So in online, when we are discussing the ideas, there's a fair possibility many of you, after having lunch, you will sit and you will listen to the session. And we have to go long. Go long means we have to take a lot of sessions in the future, right? So afternoon is a very, I would say, a risky time period, especially when students are getting up early in the morning. So if after having lunch you feel sleepy, please keep a chewing gum or something in your mouth, or keep some water next to you. Keep taking slow sips of water so that all the time you're alert. Had I been there in front of you in person, that would have made you more alert. Okay? So, some kind of internal discipline also needs to be observed. Now, so first, if you are enlisting the we can say the ideas which started paving the way for a questioning mind, the same questioning mind which led to questioning what's happening in the society, the questions what's happening in the society led to the emergence of sociology. Everything is leading to the other, we have to see the logic. So Dante, he wrote Divine Comedy. Erasmus, he wrote in the Praise of Folly. Montaigne, he wrote Esaias, What Do I Do? Thomas More, he wrote Utopia. And in all these pieces of literature, they kept questioning what is the better way to live? What is human being destined to live? What what interventions can improve the quality of life that we are living? Okay, so those questions, those ideas, when we talk about it, we all can see that is something which is discussed in these pieces of literature. क्योंकि साहित्य समाज का दर्पण होता है. Literature is the mirror to the society. So when the literature starts showing that we can question the divine order, we can question that gods can also cause flaw. Nothing is flawless. When we start questioning that whatever is being lived and experienced on ground can also be shaped to betterment. So those ideas are doing what? Questioning, debating, discussing, dissenting. It's happening at the level of literature also. Then scientists, with their questioning mind, they started questioning what? They started questioning the geocentric theory. कौन थिंकर थे बताओ इसके? Geocentric to heliocentric? Yes. Have you heard of Galileo Galilei? Copernicus? Yes. So, Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, Oh God, I'm suffering actually. So क्या कर रही हूँ? So just a moment. Yeah. Similarly, when we are talking about it, acha, what is geocentrism? Do you understand this? Do you understand what is geocentrism?
पहले जो बिलीव करते थे कि अर्थ के अराउंड ही सारा सोलर सिस्टम अर्थ के अराउंड है फिर ये रिसर्च के बाद उन्हें बताया कि सन जिसके अराउंड ही सिर्फ अर्थ ही सारा कुछ रिवॉल्व करता है
Okay,
हिलियोसेंट्रिज्म
okay. So when we are talking about it, when we see this word centrism, centrism means what is centric. So geo is pertaining to earth. Okay, it is pertaining to earth. So when it was suggested that earth was at the center, who was saying that? Bible. Bible, and it was suggested in the Old Testament that earth is at the center and sun is revolving around the earth. ठीक है? This is called geocentrism. Geocentric. इसको क्या हुआ? हमने क्रॉस किया. कैसे क्रॉस किया? साइंटिस्ट ने लॉजिकली एक्सप्लेन किया. And they moved to heliocentrism. What is heliocentrism? Sun is in the midst and the earth is revolving around the sun. Right? I hope that's making sense. It's not a great revolution, but at least you can sense it, what I imply to say. Right? From the diagram. Okay. Earth centered universe model and the pre Copernicus astronomical belief. Yes, we can connect with that as well. So, the scientists, when they are moving from geocentric, this is the geocentric, to heliocentric, right? Helio means Helios, sun, that is associated with sun. So, when we are moving to the heliocentric theory, so we all can see the shift from geocentric to heliocentric. ठीक है, सबको समझ में आ रहा है? Then Francis Bacon, he is also called father of empiricism. Empiricism किस पे बेस्ड होगा? लॉजिक पे. तो बहुत सारी चीजें चेंज को एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश करी है, डीकंस्ट्रक्ट और डिकोड करने की कोशिश कर रही है. थिंग्स आर नो मोर बेस्ड ऑन बिलीफ, थिंग्स आर बेस्ड ऑन क्वेश्चनिंग माइंड. Can you see that? Right? Then further, religious reformers आए. So they will also start. How can you reform? You can reform when you question. When you question the belief and you want to make things better, to be observed, to be lived on ground. So Martin Luther King, he's a German monk, and we can see his Calvinism also comes into existence. We'll be discussing quite exhaustively about Calvinism and Protestantism when we are also going to study about the thinker called Weber, Max Weber. So, in the religious reform segment, we see that they started saying that we only have to believe in one scripture. Again, we can see that, we could also see that it was said that people, they started seeking justification through faith. Justification will also need a logical mind. Universal priesthood of believers was created. Universal priesthood means anyone can become a priest. Any person who is believer of God can learn the Bible and can explain things, can, become the priest. So that's why amongst Protestants you don't see that, unlike Catholics में क्या होता है? Priest की शादी होती है? नहीं. The person is, we all can see, the person is Yes. What do we see? What happens? Yes. The person is single, unmarried, devotes the life in the like feet of God, like that. We can also see, हाँ बिल्कुल, वो ascetic life जीने लगते हैं. तो हम देखते हैं कि we can see the priests and amongst women they become nuns. So this is something which the Catholics used to believe. But अब क्या हुआ? Now what was resolved in this given scenario? Yes. What was created because of this? Yes. Because of that, what was created? Now, I said anyone could become the priest. पता है आपको? अच्छा एक इंटरेस्टिंग विजुअल देती हूँ. All of you will be able to visualize it. You all know that amongst the Catholics, whenever there is a marriage that is taking place, so for the sake of the marriage, people they have to go to the church and they dress up in a nice white flowing gown and all that. Protestantism, yes, 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 very rightly put. Every soul a shrine, every heart a temple. That's the idea basically. So when we are talking about it, you can see that the very idea of priest being put on a higher pedestal in Catholicism was there. Priest was also considered as the person who can communicate with God, who can ease communication. But this Protestantism, it suggested that you don't need a mediator. No one needs a facilitator. And no facilitator, mediator, or priest can tell whether you are the chosen one or not, whether you shall attain like liberation or we can say salvation or not. That is something which is only known to the God. Priest or anyone cannot explain the same. This is what they said. And if you want to get married, so any of your friends can take a Bible, and even in a library with six people, six witnesses, means basically five is the minimum strength. So, five, six friends have gathered in the library. Two of them who want to get married have come forward, and another person can read the Bible and pronounce them as wife and husband, and the marriage shall get facilitated. So, how can that happen when you go for reforms? When you free yourself from different types of rituals, different types of, we can say, strenuous do's and don'ts. When we are open to let anyone and everyone realize the possibility of growth, right? So, that's what we all can consider. Is this making sense? Yeah. So, religion में भी क्या आ गया? तर्क, logic. What can we see? Everyone is open to question. Everyone is constantly open to, we can see, question and try to find out the specific answers. Right? So that is something which also will pave the way for, we can say, it will also pave the way for what? It will also pave the way for a logical existence and modernity. Fine? Chalo. So you should be able to keep recalling the keywords, keep recalling the insights. Anyway, politically, again, we can see when we are talking about intellectual revolution. So, very good, Animesh. Yes. So it paves the way for modernism. So when we are talking about this, so politically, क्या हम changes देखेंगे intellectual revolution में? So So, when we are talking about, there are several agents of change. First, we reflected upon scholars, or rather, we can say literateurs. Literateurs, people who are related to literature. Then we saw scientists, scientists who created a questioning mind. After that, we are seeing religious reformers who are also paving the way of logic, that even in religion we can be logical. Then we can see there is political philosophers. Under that, we can see Machiavelli, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke. Just keywords is what you need to talk about. Machiavelli, very briefly is there in GS paper 4, ethics, integrity, aptitude, Western philosophers and thinkers. So Machiavelli, he wrote the book. It's a very thin book. It is related, it's called The Prince. It is basically talking about how the monarch can be all powerful, why the monarch should have a very strong army, how sometimes it is fine for the monarch to be autocratic. Okay, in today's words, Machiavelli would have been treated like a right winger. Okay, so Machiavelli, he felt that we can consider that if a person, we can see that if a person really wants to become a king, or if we have to train a prince to become a king, what are the do's and don'ts which he should follow? Because earlier it was not a balanced society, it was patriarchal, so I'll be using the term he only. Okay, so this is something which we all can connect with. Fine, is it making sense? फिर तो यहाँ पर हम देखेंगे मैकियावेली, टॉमस हॉब्स को हम देखेंगे. ही एनविजन्ड रैशनल कंट्रोल्ड स्टेट एज अ नेचुरल आउटकम ऑफ एवोल्यूशनरी नेचर ऑफ सोसाइटी. तो यहाँ पर जब हम लोग फर्दर वर्कआउट करेंगे तो वी ऑल कैन सी व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मैकियावेली, टॉमस हॉब्स एंड जॉन लॉक, तो हम इन तीनों के रेफरेंस में इस सिचुएशन को मैनेज आउट कर सकेंगे कि व्हाट दे आर प्रपोजिंग टू द वर्ल्ड. सो मैकियावेली इज टॉकिंग अबाउट political change, new ideas which can centralize power. Similarly, Thomas Hobbes, he was more of a very rational person, you can see, who also spoke of how we can create the idea of separation of power, what should be the role of the state, the sovereign, can the sovereign be changed, all those ideas he engaged with. We also could see that John Locke, he saw the right mix of selfishness and selflessness, which could create collective happiness of the society. So he spoke of what is in the larger interest of the state, how far the interest of the state should be served, and how it should be balanced with individuals' happiness. I hope that's making sense, right? Now, furthermore, when we start talking about the same. So here, when we are reflecting upon this, we can see this. When we talk about it, you can see this, that there are French thinkers. अच्छा, क्या हमें इस पे बहुत डिटेल में लिखना है? No, we don't have to engage in a lot of details related to the same. Okay, now with reference to French Revolution thinkers, we can see Voltaire, there is Diderot, Diderot, and then there is Rousseau and Montesquieu. Remember the names, it will be helpful. Just remember the key ideas. Like Voltaire, he is saying that he is urging people to form society which is not imposed upon them. People themselves are the creators of the society. Diderot, he proposed the idea of freedom. What kind of freedom should be experienced? Rousseau spoke of general will is the consolidation of all the individuals who are submitting their idea of righteousness to the common will. And it is the general will which is going to protect the right of every individual, which is going to protect the generalized rights of every individual, the common rights of the people. No one is subject to any form of exploitation, or we can see any kind of wrong being done to the individual. And the state shall protect the rights of all the individuals accordingly. So that's something which we all can talk about, right? Yeah.
तो फिर यहाँ पे ये मतलब सब कभी ऐसा होता है कि लगभग मिक्स होने के चांसेस ज़्यादा होते हैं.
नहीं होगा, लिख कर ये इसको याद करिए तो बिल्कुल नहीं होगा. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग द नोट्स, ठीक है, तो नोट्स बनाते वक्त आप क्या करेंगे, जैसे मान लीजिए आपको ये करना है कि हाउ वी कैन सी द पीरियड ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट अनफोल्ड, तो आपने सबसे पहले एक्सप्लेन किया द पीरियड ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट इज द अनफोल्डिंग ऑफ पोस्ट रेनासा, which is after 17th century. We can see Several types of intellectual changes unfold due to different types of thinkers and their contribution रेस्पेक्टिवली. फिर आप चाहें तो फ्लो चार्ट जैसा ऐसे भी बना सकते हैं. एक आपने यहाँ पे जैसे बना लिया कि लिटरेचर्स, ठीक है, लिटरेचर्स के बाद फिर आपने यहाँ पर बना लिया साइंटिस्ट्स, साइंटिस्ट के बाद फिर मान लीजिए आपने बना दिया इकोनॉमिस्ट्स, फिर उसके बाद बना दिया पॉलिटिकल थिंकर्स. सो इकोनॉमिक एंड पॉलिटिकल थिंकर्स, समझ में आ रही बात. तो इस तरीके से फिर लिटरेचर्स दो तीन का नाम याद कर लिया, साइंटिस्ट दो तीन का नाम याद कर लिया, इकोनॉमिक थिंकर्स दो तीन, पॉलिटिकल थिंकर्स दो तीन. सो व्हेन यू आर मेकिंग इट लाइक दिस देन ऑल्सो इट इज एक्सेप्टेबल. ठीक है. सो पीरियड ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट, when we are talking about it, how is it unfolding? So it is unfolding because of the human contribution, what other thinkers are talking and how they are talking about it, right? So this is how you can convert it into a flow chart and memorize. देखो मेमोराइज तो हर जगह करना है. जीएस में अगर पॉलिटी है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, तो क्या आर्टिकल्स नहीं याद करने हैं? यू हैव टू मेमोराइज आर्टिकल्स. हिस्ट्री, हिस्ट्री में भी आपको याद करना है. एंड दीज आर थिंकर्स विल ओवरलैप. मीन्स कभी हिस्ट्री में दिखेंगे, कभी जीएस पेपर 4 में दिखेंगे. सो अ सेंस ऑफ फेमिलियरिटी विल डेवलप. यू वोंट फील मार्टिन लूथर किंग, हाय नाम ही नहीं सुना, या मैकियावेली नाम ही नहीं सुना. दैट विल नॉट हैपन. यू विल डेवलप दैट. Yes, yes, yes. Voltaire will be also explained, or Rousseau will also be explained in greater detail when you are dealing with paper 4. But please do remember, if you have read these thinkers, like let's say in graduation level, sometimes some students who are not doing honors, they have 3 subjects. होता है ना, कुछ बच्चों का ऑनर्स नहीं होता है. इफ यू आर डूइंग ऑनर सब्जेक्ट तब अलग बात होती है. सो इफ समवन इज डूइंग ग्रेजुएशन एंड हैविंग 3 सब्जेक्ट्स, सपोज हिस्ट्री, political science and sociology, or history, economics and sociology, something like that. So you might get exposed to these thinkers over there as a graduation level course with greater detail. Those details are not needed here in sociology. Here only the indicative name would be sufficient. Okay. So just remember the indicative name. Now further we can talk. John Locke, when we are talking about him, so he is an Englishman, and he is also advocating that every individual has certain rights which cannot be taken away even by the state. जैसे स्टेट बिना आपसे पूछे, बिना आपको बताए रीजन, ना आपको अरेस्ट कर सकती है, ना बेफालतू का पीट सकती है. There is a specific protocol that has to be followed. So right to life, right to property, right to personal freedom, ये सारी चीजें कहीं गई. वेल आज के टाइम में राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी तो फंडामेंटल राइट नहीं रहा. व्हाई नॉट? यू कैन रीड अबाउट इट इन पॉलिटी. बट राइट टू लाइफ एंड पर्सनल फ्रीडम इज स्टिल अ फंडामेंटल राइट, फॉर विच यू कैन ऑल्सो गो टू द कोर्ट and contest for your rights if it is infringed. So we all can see that when we are talking about it, it's written that any ruler who takes away these rights from the people can also be removed. उसको हम हटा भी सकते हैं. तो इसीलिए हमारे जो बेसिक राइट्स हैं, जो फंडामेंटल राइट्स हैं, वो राइट्स हमारे कोई भी नहीं हटा सकता. एंड इफ समवन इज इन्फ्रिंजिंग अपॉन दोज राइट्स, फूलिंग अराउंड विद दोज राइट्स, द पर्सन कैन ऑल्सो बी रिमूव्ड. सिंपल. इकोनॉमिक थियरीज क्या है जो हमारे अंदर लॉजिक भरा? So that is, we can see mercantilism. This idea was given by Venier. बस नाम याद रखना है किसने कौन सा आइडिया दिया. Laissez faire, I just explained. The theory of non-interference. That is, the state shall not interfere in the functioning of the state. ठीक है? Or in the functioning of the company. So, when we speak of it. So, just a moment. Oh goodness, it's like so when we are talking about this, we all can further move ahead and then we can reflect upon this. So when we are talking about the given dimensions pertaining to, like let's say the concept of laissez faire, तो इसमें आप लोग जोड़ लेंगे ये पॉलिसी ऑफ नॉन इंटरफियरेंस, ठीक है, और किसके तरफ से, गवर्नमेंट टू द प्राइवेट कंपनीज, ठीक है, फ्री मार्केट की वजह से ये होगा. सो द आइडिया ऑफ फ्री मार्केट. If at any point of time you feel my handwriting is non perceivable, please tell me. I will definitely work it out. Okay. Now, so with respect to this, further when we move ahead, we all can see there is also the idea of absolute advantage. Adam Smith ने दिया, comparative advantage David Ricardo ने दिया. Then we can see there is this materialistic scale as a yardstick for happiness, that is Bentham. Bentham, you will be seeing utilitarianism. It's too hot. बच्चे इतना खोला के क्यों दे दिया सबको, कैसे इसको पिएंगे. बच के है ना, चोट मत लगाना. Now we can see this reduced. You can put rest of the water इसमें, बचा हुआ इसमें आप डाल दीजिए, या इसको ले जाइए ग्लास को वो दे दीजिए. Thank you. So when we are talking about it, we all can see that reduced progressive and increased inheritance tax, this is something. तो progressive tax नहीं दीजिए, inheritance tax को बढ़ा दीजिए, because you, when you're earning something from the scratch, it can be tedious. But when we are, like let's say, working towards working towards any kind of, we can say, suppose I'm starting a business, so it can be very tedious. But suppose I inherit, like Mr. Ambani, something like 100 करोड़ का बिजनेस. वैसे उनका 100 करोड़ नहीं है, उनका लाखों करोड़ का बिजनेस है, तो इट इज़ ईजियर फॉर मी टू हैंडल सच अ पॉसिबिलिटी. ठीक है. तो when we are talking about what J.S. Mill had proposed, we can see that it is also something which is encouraging people to reason, to question what ought to be followed and what is the right way to, like we can say, regulate the economy and the idea of personal property per se. Okay. Now, further, when we move ahead, we all can see the screen is freezing, right? क्यों हो रहा है भाई? चलो ठीक है, अब बेहतर है. So when we are talking about this, we can see that the idea of enlightenment, when we discuss about it, जब हम डायग्राम बनाएंगे तो इस तरह से सोच सकते हैं. How literateurs contributed, how scientists contributed, how economic thinkers contributed, how political thinkers contributed to the development of logic, to the development of a reasoning mind, which paved the way for sociology. क्योंकि हम पूछेंगे तभी लॉजिकल माइंड होगा, साइंटिफिक माइंड होगा तभी हम कहीं ना कहीं चीज़ों को हैंडल करने में ज़्यादा केपेबल हो पाएंगे. सो देन we move ahead with the idea of difference between enlightenment and renaissance. I had clearly explained the difference between the two, है ना. So any doubts associated with this area while you read it? Simple language में I just explained. Still, yes. Any doubts that while reading you might have got stuck? So what are the differences between Renaissance and Enlightenment when we talk about it? What is the distinct difference between the two? First is they are two different phases of history. right? So when we speak of it, we all can understand that they are two different distinct periods of history. Then we can see that they are associated with different changes that occurred in art, culture, philosophy, science, mathematics. Changes happening related to all these given subsegments in both the phases. It's just that the nature of change is different. Jaise I've enlisted, Renaissance is related to change that took place in the world of literature, architecture, humanism, economy, while enlightenment is related to scientific methods, new innovations, right? Industrialization. We can see it with respect to rationality, astronomy, calculus. So when we talk about what kind of change was, like, we can say, unfolding, so it's not only two different distinct phases of history or periods of history, we can also see that it is also related to the issues it is dealing with, topics that it is dealing. The topics are related, but period of enlightenment is more logical, more scientific. It moved ahead of Renaissance. So it is related to science and maths, right? Again, we can see when we are talking about Renaissance, I gave you a brief idea that how it is also contributing to art and culture and intellectual component. We can recall Galileo Galilei, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Niccolo Machiavelli, right? So all these people who are central figures related to Renaissance. क्या ये क्वेश्चन आएगा? चांसेस कम है. बहुत टिपिकल थियोरेटिकल क्वेश्चन आएगा तो पूछ देगा. But UPSC is more concerned about sociology, not history. This question is related to sociology but a bit distantly. Sociology gets connected to period of enlightenment, which is a byproduct of Renaissance. So indirect connectivity. अगर आपसे पूछा, how does European history contribute to the unfolding of sociology, then you'll have to mention Renaissance bit briefly and period of enlightenment more exhaustively. उस समय भी एनलाइटनमेंट पे ही ज्यादा फोकस होना है. तो 17th सेंचुरी के लेटर हाफ से, दैट इज 1650 से 1800, दिस इज द टाइम पीरियड ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट. इसमें हम क्या देखते हैं? न्यू पैराडाइम्स ऑफ मोरालिटी. सो व्हाट इज दिस न्यू पैराडाइम्स ऑफ मोरालिटी? साइंस का इनोवेशन आएगा तो उससे क्या होना चाहिए, क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, तो लॉजिक आएगा ही. सो realm of science, mathematics, technology, in all these domains we'll be seeing the change unfold, right? Okay. Then furthermore, when we are talking about it, we all can see when it's written that logic and reason reigned as thinkers became convinced that society and the natural world were like a giant united machine that, while it may be complicated, could eventually be dismantled, studied, and mastered. Matlab, we can deconstruct. And when we can deconstruct, we can see that in the process of deconstruction, we will be able to decode, we will be able to logically come across explanations. तो वही सारी चीजें यहाँ पे simple language में दिया हुआ है, that we all can go for a scientific method. It is relying on the notion of objective observation, verifiable conclusion, because science believes in all that, right? So this is what we'll be observing. Astronomy, philosophy, medicine, physiology, transportation, in all these areas we are working. So empirical data is now something which is giving a lot of importance. Empirical data means numbers, prove it, rather than belief system. तो अब लाइटनिंग होगा तो हम ये नहीं बोलेंगे भगवान भाला फेंक दिए, ठीक है? No one is going to imagine that some divine god is throwing shooting arrows or doing something like that. People will be now giving a logical explanation that due to what reason lightning must have occurred. If there is an eclipse, people will be not that God has become angry, okay, and now the demon has come and is eating the sun. or eating the moon. Now people will give explanations. Explanations why such a phenomena must have occurred. Okay. Similarly, explanation to diseases. A scientific explanation why a person is, like, let's say, getting an epileptic attack. ये नहीं कि इसको जूता सूंघा दो. ठीक है, all that stuff that used to happen, that let the person, all those fallacious treatments that used to happen, or hallucinations. So there'll be a scientific explanation to hallucinations, not that the person is possessed by a spirit. So we'll see that the world started moving towards logic. Okay. So the thinkers like Charles Darwin, Isaac Newton, Galileo Galilei, इसमें LEI होना चाहिए.
Galileo Galilei is name of one person.
एक ही व्यक्ति. ठीक है, जैसे दो नाम होते हैं ना, चार्ल्स डार्विन वन पर्सन, सिमिलरली आइजैक न्यूटन वन पर्सन, गैलीलियो गैलीली वन पर्सन. Okay, so Gottfried Leibniz, all these people are related to calculus or cosmology or physics. So different scientific disciplines developed, evolved, and all this also gave shaped the idea of how the human societies ought to be, what we ought to live. So we all can see that the treatises written by Thomas Hobbes, later on Spinoza's work, we can see it started discussing about what should be the ethical behavior that should be conducted. Fine. Then, so the period of enlightenment, it started shaping human reasoning, universal reasoning, how we ought to live, what ought to be lived, right? So the ability to think rationally and critically, that is something that started evolving because of the same. So I hope you can see all the keywords that I had used towards the beginning are mentioned here, right? तो अब इसका जिस्ट देखो जो एग्जाम में आपके लिए होना चाहिए, दिस, कि जब ये इंटेलेक्चुअल मॉडर्निटी है या आइडियोलॉजिकल मॉडर्निटी है, सो हाउ डू वी कॉल इट, इंटेलेक्चुअल और आइडियोलॉजिकल मॉडर्निटी. So we can call it intellectual or ideological modernity on the basis of these 5 points. So first, faith in human progress means you have a we can say a progressive mindset. Okay, a futuristic progressive mindset. Second, we can see the ability of science to offer solution, means if there is a disease, why it is happening, if there's a bad weather condition, why it is happening. Then the rational thought and empiricism, that's also something which we can see. The rational thought and empiricism means we all can see that how the logical mindset is unfolding. Then we can see a spirit of questioning, लगातार तर्क के साथ आप सवाल पूछते. रैशनल मीन्स तर्क, तार्किक, तर्क के साथ होना. क्वेश्चनिंग, सवाल पूछने का दिमाग. ठीक है, तो आप ऐसे ही किसी चीज को फेस वैल्यू पे नहीं एक्सेप्ट कर लेते. एंड अ बिलीव दैट नेचर फॉलोज यूनिवर्सल लॉज एंड कैन बी स्टडीड साइंटिफिकली. सो व्हाटसोएवर इज हैपनिंग अराउंड अस, इट इज बेस्ड ऑन सम लॉ, some natural principle, and that natural principle can also be studied, decoded, understood scientifically. Got it? Right? So this is what is we can consider the component pertaining to the period of enlightenment and what are the ideologies associated with the same. फिर आता है इसका कंजर्वेटिव रिएक्शन पीरियड ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट का. व्हाट इज कंजर्वेटिव रिएक्शन? So conservative reaction is basically we can consider the response. तो response क्या निकलता है? So you can understand that when people are pro change, pro scientific inventions, discoveries, so एक school of thought आएगा, बोलेगा हाय हाय बहुत ज़्यादा ही change ला दिया, इतना change नहीं सहा जाएगा. देखो दोनों अपने जगह important है, होना चाहिए. Why is conservatism important? Conservatives, they are always resistant to change because they feel that change can disturb the law and order, the peace and order, harmony of the society. इसी वजह से रोक रहे हैं ना, change ना हो, change ना हो. Why are they resisting change? So that the law and order, the peace and harmony of the society does not get disturbed. We have to find a balance between both. We have to be pro change, we have to be pro modernity, we have to be pro growth, but at the same time, we have to also take care that the law and order, the peace, the harmony of the society does not get negatively impacted. That's what we have to take care of. Got it? So, this is the reason why conservative thinkers are also important. Got it? Not only thinkers of period of enlightenment who are pro change, but also these thinkers. ठीक. अब ये नहीं सोचना हाय हाय कितने थिंकर पढ़ने हैं भाई. ठीक है, इनमें से किसी थिंकर को डिटेल में नहीं पढ़ना है. You just need to know their names so that you can show familiarity to the examiner. The thinkers you have to deal in great detail, like for example Karl Marx. When I'll start him, I'll teach him for 3 to 4 days. Fair chance 4 days. Suppose I'm discussing Weber 3 to 4 days, Emil Durkheim 3 to 4 days, because they are the core thinkers in the syllabus. Here, just a familiarity with the name showcases that you know the period and what was happening in that period and how that period is contributive. If you don't know the thinker, how do you prove that you know the period? How do you know what was being done in the period? बात समझ में आई क्यों थिंकर को जानना है? तो थिंकर को जानने से आप एग्जामिनर को ये बताते हो कि आपको पता है चल क्या रहा था. You showcase this given possibility. Okay, so Ankit has also given the answer to Renassa and conservative thinkers. They want to conserve their tradition and status. Yes, we can consider that also. Conserve tradition and status. Why? Because change in status can create discomfort, it can create rupture, right? Now, here, let's see, with respect to the same. So, the most extreme form of opposition of Enlightenment ideas was French Catholic counter revolutionary philosophy, as represented by the ideas of Louis de Bonald and Joseph de Maistre. When I was your age, and I had to remember these fellows' names. Initially, I was also little this कितना टफ सा नाम है, because हम लोग को राम श्याम सीता गीता जल्दी याद होता है. ठीक है, but you will remember because interesting part is the conservative thinkers have three names. You can see that Louis de Bonald, Joseph de Maistre, and when anything has a rhythm, we tend to remember it. The name has a rhythm, so you'll be able to remember it. Just remember Louis de Bonald, Joseph de Maistre. You revise it like 3-4 times in your brain. You'll be like बीच में तो D है ये तो पता है. आगे बस Louis याद रखना है और Joseph याद रखना है. So then you'll remember Louis de, and suddenly your brain will be like Bonald. You'll say Joseph de Maistre. That's how it happens. Okay. So Bonald was disturbed by revolutionary changes of French Revolution and yearned for a return to the peace and harmony. You can see that. So, what is the aspiration, peace and harmony of the Middle Ages? In this view, God was the source of society. किसके view में? Conservative view में. That God is the source of society. Therefore, reason, which is so important for enlightenment philosophers, इनको reason ही गड़बड़ लगेगा. ये बोलेंगे reason नहीं चाहिए. रीजन को क्या कंसिडर करेंगे? रीजन इज इंफीरियर टू ट्रेडिशनल रिलीजियस बिलीफ्स. देयर इज नथिंग ओवर एंड अबव गॉड. यही दिमाग दिया जाएगा. समझ में आ रहा है? तो फर्दर मोर it was believed that because God had created society, so people should not tamper with it. समाज भगवान ने बनाया, तो सोसाइटी क्या हो गया? सोसाइटी हो गया होली क्रिएशन. So when we try to change the society, we are tampering with the holy creation. So patriarchy भगवान ने बना दिया, मोनोगैमस फैमिली भगवान ने क्रिएट कर दिया, मोनार्की भगवान ने क्रिएट कर दिया. आप ये सब क्वेश्चन करोगे, चेंज करोगे, तो आप भगवान के आइडिया, ऑर्डर और क्रिएटेड सोसाइटी को क्वेश्चन करोगे. दैट्स व्हाट दे कंसिडर्ड. अच्छा, यहाँ पे मोनोगैमी एक नया वर्ड हो सकता है कुछ लोगों के लिए हो. So what is monogamy? Mono means singular and gamy means marriage. Gamy, marriage. Polygamy, monogamy. You have the chapter of family marriage kinship. So you'll get exposed to these terms more often later, more often. So mono means single marriage, polygamy, multiple partners when they get into a marriage. It can be many wives, one husband, or many husbands, one wife, or it can also be a group marriage. So all these will be forms of polygamy. ठीक है, poly various. चलिए फिर आगे देखते हैं. आगे हम जब देखते हैं तो क्या दिखते हैं हमें, एक दूसरे थिंकर दिखते हैं, लुई डी बोनाल्ड एंड जोसेफ डी माइस्ट्रे के अलावा. अच्छा, ये जो अभी मैंने आपको ये दिया है ना, प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन में आपको दिखेगा इसका इंपॉर्टेंस, ये कंजर्वेटिव रिएक्शन और इससे रिलेटेड हमारा इनसाइट. तो यहाँ पर नेक्स्ट जो हम देख सकते हैं वो है अर्विंग जेटलिन. तो ही, when we are talking about him, we are connecting the idea with him. So early sociology developed as a reaction to enlightenment. मतलब initially the contribution of, just pay attention to this part, initially the contribution of the who, the conservatives also played an important role in the emergence of sociology. So one of them is Irving Zetlin. He is saying that he outlined some major propositions that he sees as emerging from the conservative reaction. जैसे हम क्या देखते हैं, so he is talking about the classical French sociological theory, and where he is saying what, that the enlightenment thinkers, they emphasize on the individual, और जबकि कंजर्वेटिव्स का फोकस सोसाइटी था, ग्रुप था, कम्युनिटी थी. तो इनका कहना था कि अगर आप इंडिविजुअल पे ज्यादा फोकस करोगे तो सोसाइटी पीछे छूट जाएगी. एंड इफ द सोसाइटी इज लेफ्ट बिहाइंड देन इट इज गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट, इट इज गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट व्हाट, it is going to impact the overall well-being, the overall growth, right? So when we say that the conservatives were also contributive to the development of sociology, how? Because until unless you don't focus on society, why will you study society? है कि नहीं? If you are focusing on individual, if you are focusing more on the individual, think about it logically, that if you are focusing more on the individual, then will it not cause a rupture? Will it not discourage the possibility of studying the society? So when can we study the society? हम समाज को कब पढ़ सकते हैं? Yes, when can we study the society? Yes, we can study the society when? Think about it. When can we study the society? We can study the society when? What happens? When we are curious about it, when we want to know about it, when, what else? We believe that by studying we can find solutions to its problems. When we believe that by propounding the challenges, by understanding the challenges, we can also talk about what future possibilities can unfold. By understanding the present reality of the society, we can predict what may unfold in the future. समाज को पढ़ना क्यों जरूरी है? उसकी समस्याओं को समझने के लिए, भविष्य की संभावनाओं को समझने के लिए, क्या इंटरवेंशंस चाहिए, हस्तक्षेप चाहिए, उसको समझने के लिए. So when we talk about the society, why is it important to study the society? These are the reasons. If you focus more on the individual, why will you study the society? So when conservatives were saying that enlightenment is focusing too much on the individual, so what did they say? Focus on the society. If you don't focus on the society, can you study sociology? No. So in this manner, we also see that the conservatives also contributed in the development of sociology as a discipline. Is it making sense? तो यहाँ पर देखो. So it was viewed as something more than simply an aggregate of individual. Society मतलब सिर्फ group of people नहीं होता है. What is it? So it has existence of its own, it has its own laws. दूसरी बात, इन्हीं लोगों के वजह से हमने समझा कि सोसाइटी इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट यूनिट ऑफ एनालिसिस. Why? Because in GS paper 4 also you have inculcation of values by family, educational institutions and society. So the primary socialization of an individual is done by the society itself. Suppose you go to Switzerland, you will find people, irrespective of age, very, like, stiff, serious. They won't interact with you. Generally they'll be dismissive. You want to do some chitter chatter, they will not like it. That I don't know you, why you trying to strike a conversation with me. They're like, "Hmm," and, like, very like, having a very tough exterior and not talking much. Very introverted people. You go to England, early morning you are passing by the street, random strangers will smile at you and say good morning. Like, huh? Are you getting it? Again, you, like, similarly, suppose you are in India, suppose you are moving to some village side. So if you just say Ram Ram, so the person will be curious, but the person will be like, Ram Ram sa, ya Ram Ram ji. I'm talking about areas of Haryana or Rajasthan. So you'll see that people will be smiling and doing that. You come to Delhi and just smile at someone, and then you're like, hello. And the person will be like, yes. Rather than responding hello or hi or good evening, the person will be like, yes. Do I know you? So the person like, no, I just greeted. And the person will have a quizzical face. Why? Means, what was the reason? So when we talk about such dimensions, the kind of person we are, the society in which we get raised, also shapes our response systems. The way we respond to strangers, respond to tough situations, respond to the scenarios where we did not expect it to happen, right? So I'll give you another example coming from Japan. I think all of you are aware of this fact that जापान में जब फुटबॉल होता है तो फुटबॉल दो बार वो लोग मतलब वर्ल्ड कप तक पहुंचे. तो जापान की टीम जब जब हारी, generally when a team loses, the fans are very disheartened. They end up crying or they end up losing their heart. But what you will see is that despite people crying, despite fans feeling very sad, after getting up from their chair, they used to just scan the area around their seats, like the seat in front, next to them, behind them, the entire area. Is there any trash, any packet which is lying casually? Is there anything that someone has eaten and chips, pretzels, anything is sprayed? They'll pick everything and then they'll dispose it in the dustbin. So after the, like, the Japanese team has lost or it has won, whatever is the round going on, the the stadium used to be immaculate clean within half an hour, because the Japanese people, they cleaned the stadium before they left. So what is this? This is the way they have been socialized by their family members, by their society. So when we know a society not as a group of people but as a community which is feeding its individuals, which is sharing a common culture, which is inculcating values, we know what are the possible intentions, potential possibilities of the individual per se. Right? So that is something which we all need to understand. So when we say that society is the most important unit of analysis, it is producing the individual and through socialization. Again, we can see society is related to various components. Various components like a society can be connected with multiple roles, positions, relationships, institutions. Individual is just a part of it. And because of those roles, positions, relationships, structure, the society is able to run. Again, we can see the parts of the society are somewhere interrelated or interdependent. Is it making sense? Yes? So, moving further ahead, we can also see that small units such as family, the neighborhood, religion, occupational groups, all these are seen as essential to individuals and society. We can see that they provide the intimate face to face environments that people, the kind of order that they need, the law and order, the possibilities, the conditions in which they can survive, that is also something which gets facilitated by a society. So, society is facilitating every aspect of existence, not only the familial aspect of existence, your religious, economic, political, every aspect is taken care of by the society. So, it is satisfying various needs. Okay, we can also see that it is comprising of various units. Okay, some units you have intimate face to face relationship, and with certain other units you have very formal relationship. Then we can see that with respect to the same, there is a tendency to see various modern like social changes such as industrialization, urbanization, bureaucratization. So various types of social changes. And these changes can have disorganizing effect. Like industrialization, disorganizing effect. Families will migrate no from rural areas to urban areas. So, similarly, urbanization it creates the possibility of ghettos or slums, child labor. So, because of that, we all can connect that yes, it can create a lot of problems as well. Furthermore, when we talk about it, we can see the given subdimension associated with this, that when we are talking about the given dynamics associated with the change it starts unfolding, we can also see that अच्छा हो सकता है किसी को ऐसा लगे कि मैम ब्यूरोक्रेटाइजेशन कैसे डिसऑर्गेनाइजेशन डिसऑर्गेनाइजिंग इफेक्ट रख सकता है because bureaucracy will also formalize rules, regulations, do's, don'ts, who shall hold the power and how, which will also question the old order, monarchy. So the old order will get questioned. Henceforth, it will create a lot of disorganizing impact in the initial go. So these changes were viewed with fear and anxiety. So changes ऐसे भी इंसान चेंज को लेके अभी मैं बोल दूं यूपीएससी का सिलेबस चेंज होने वाला है 2 साल बाद अभी नहीं नॉट नेक्स्ट ईयर नेक्स्ट टू नेक्स्ट ईयर अभी आपकी हालत खराब हो जाएगी क्या चेंज होगा यार ये जो पढ़ रहे ठीक है कि नहीं रेलिवेंट है कि नहीं सो चेंज इज समथिंग एवरीवन रेजिस्ट्स ठीक है any kind of change which is proposed, so that's what is here because people feel that it's going to disrupt the way we are continuing. Then the conservatives they supported the existence of a hierarchical system in society. So we can see the conservatives they are supporting the hierarchical system. उनको लगा कि hierarchy बिल्कुल ठीक है, it is perfectly all right because it is determining different status and reward for people, and hierarchy is essential to give people different or distinct rewards. So that's something which we can think. So most of the people they are fearing change, and that is something which is leading to a more rational society, right? The conservative reaction it also led to the emphasis on the importance of non-rational factors like rituals, ceremony, worship, how all this is also important to keep the people together. Do we feel united when we are going for a common ceremony, like let's say marriage ceremony, let's say inauguration of a religious site, anything. It can be a mosque, a church, a temple, a gurudwara. Do these factors unite people? Think about it. Today is the 10th day associated with also Muharram. I hope all of you are aware of it. Yeah. So, is it uniting people? Yes. So, rituals, ceremonies, worship, all this also unites people. So, because of these reasons, we can see that conservatives and their attitude will also contribute in the creation of the society. Yes, it will also create the possibility of subject matter, or why society should be studied. If we are studying the society, then only we will be able to see. If we are studying the society, then only we will be able to see what, how sociology unfolds. ओके, तो पहले किसी को तो बोलना होगा ना, ये सोसाइटी पढ़ना ज़रूरी है, सोसाइटी एज अ सब्जेक्ट मैटर ज़रूरी है. तो ये चीज़ कंजर्वेटिव्स क्रिएट करते हैं. ठीक. अब आते हैं पोस्ट एनलाइटनमेंट पीरियड पे, दैट हाउ पोस्ट एनलाइटनमेंट इन्फ्लुएंस्ड. ये उतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. पोस्ट एनलाइटनमेंट मीन्स 1650 से 1800, तो 1800 के बाद का फेज, दैट इज वी कैन से 1900 एंड नहीं 1801 ऑनवर्ड्स, दैट इज 19th सेंचुरी. तो 19th सेंचुरी का क्या देखेंगे, तो उस समय हम देखते हैं फिलॉसफी ऑफ हिस्ट्री गेट्स डेवलप्ड, बायोलॉजिकल थियरीज ऑफ एवोल्यूशन, हु, चार्ल्स डार्विन, हर्बर्ट स्पेंसर, ये वाले थिंकर्स आ जाएंगे. The surveys of social condition, a lot of surveys started getting published. तो बहुत सारा फैक्ट एंड डेटा आने लग गया, एंड विद द फैक्ट एंड डेटा we could analyze the social change, we could analyze the societies, we could make theories that what people are living and how they are living. Okay, so we can see these three intellectual influences is the precursor of sociology. कौन सा थ्री इंटेलेक्चुअल इन्फ्लुएंस? फिलॉसफी ऑफ हिस्ट्री, बायोलॉजिकल थियरीज ऑफ एवोल्यूशन एंड डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ सर्वेज. ठीक, तो आगे बढ़ते हैं. व्हाट डू वी सी? First, let us understand what is philosophy of history. Then let us understand the biological theory of evolution. तो बायोलॉजिकल थियरी ऑफ एवोल्यूशन जो है ना, इस पर हम लोग बात करेंगे. सोशियोलॉजी के एक थिंकर डरखाइम से भी हम कनेक्ट करेंगे, एंड वील अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज इट ऑल अबाउट. एंड देन द सोशल सर्वे ऑफ सोशल कंडीशन. लेट्स सी व्हाट द थ्री आर. सो द फिलॉसफी ऑफ हिस्ट्री, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट इट, so it is talking about what? It is considering that human society moves from simple to complex. First and foremost, the society was very simple, like primitive society. Cooperation, interdependence, people are supporting each other, they are standing for each other, right? So all that can be connected with this given sub scenario. Is it making sense to each one of you? Right? Okay. Then when we are talking about this, we can further talk about the given dimension associated with this. So we can just understand that, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट मी शेयर, यहाँ पर वो थिंकर का नाम नहीं दिया हुआ है, मैं आपको इसका एक सिंपल सा एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ. हम लोग देखेंगे कि ऑगस्ट कॉम्ट, yesterday we were discussing about him, फादर ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी. तो ऑगस्ट कॉम्ट भी इसकी बात करते हैं, सिंपल सोसाइटी से कॉम्प्लेक्स सोसाइटी की. कैसे? सो ही सेज द सोसाइटी अंडरगोज थ्री फेजेस. आगे लिखा हुआ भी है, वील बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट दोज थिंकर्स. So he said that initially the society was believing in the era of belief. जब हम religious थे, theological थे, that is called theological stage. Theology literally means believing in religion. ठीक है? तो he believed in theological stage. सबसे पहले इंसान डरता था, पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, नेचर में क्या हो रहा है, गड़गड़ क्यों किया, कड़कड़ क्यों किया, बिजली क्यों चमकी, मेरे ऊपर गिर जाएगा तो जल के मर जाएंगे क्या, और पेड़ पे गिरा तो पेड़ तो फट गया और झुलस भी गया. So man was constantly scared and constantly submitting himself or herself to nature. तो वो था the era which can be connected with what? Theological stage. फिर आता है सेकंड मेटाफिजिकल स्टेज. मेटाफिजिकल स्टेज में क्या होता है? तो यू स्टार्ट आस्किंग व्हाट शुड बी देयर. मेटाफिजिक्स डील्स विद द क्वेश्चन ऑफ व्हाट शुड बी देयर, व्हाट ऑट टू बी देयर, क्या होना चाहिए. एंड फिर तीसरा आता है पॉजिटिव स्टेज विच इज प्रेजेंट स्टेज, द मॉडर्न स्टेज. सो इन पॉजिटिविज्म व्हाट विल वी डू? We will believe in reason, logic. What are we doing? Why are we doing? What should be done? Right? So, तो ये कैसे ब्रेन इवॉल्व कर रहा है सिंपल से कॉम्प्लेक्स की तरफ. तो हम देखेंगे बहुत सारे थिंकर्स इस एरिया में शुरू में कंट्रीब्यूट किए, इवन बिफोर ऑगस्ट कॉम्ट बाद के. सो वी कैन सी सोशल थिंकर्स आते हैं जो फिलॉसफी को भी डेवलप करते हैं, फिलॉसफी ऑफ हिस्ट्री को, जैसे अबे सेंट पियर, गियाम बटिस्टा विको. So Guillaume Battista Vico, Abbe Saint Pierre, these are the thinkers who are also contributing. Is it making sense to each one of you? सबको समझ में आ रहा है? चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं फिर. With respect to the same, फिर हम देखते हैं क्या आता है, biological theories, right? So with respect to the biological theories, when we talk about it, we can see there is an influence of philosophy of history, and this is further getting reinforced by the biological theory of evolution, है ना. तो इसमें हम क्या देखेंगे? With respect to this, what are we going to see? So we are going to observe with respect to this, हम biological theory of evolution बोलते हैं, हर्बर्ट स्पेंसर को रिकॉल करते हैं. तो इसमें ये होता है बायोलॉजिकल थियरी ऑफ एवोल्यूशन में, दैट यू नो हाउ अ सोसाइटी अगेन इज इवॉल्विंग फ्रॉम वन स्टेज टू अनदर. तो इसमें स्पेंसर का एक और पॉइंट है जो आगे मैं आपसे डिस्कस करूंगी, दैट इज रिलेटेड टू द कॉन्सेप्ट रिलेटेड टू ऑर्गेनिज्मिक एनालॉजी विच वाज आल्सो पिक्ड बाय एमिल डर्कहाइम. What is organismic analogy? Analogy means comparison. Organismic analogy means comparing with an organism. एक डायग्राम जो आगे आप बहुत समय तक मेरे हाथ से बनते देखेंगे इन फ्यूचर. आई ऑलवेज मेक दिस डायग्राम विच यू विल बी सीइंग. ये है कीड़ा वाला डायग्राम. सो दिस इज समथिंग लाइक दिस. You don't need to draw it right now, but you will see it so many number of times that you will like develop an affinity to it. You're like, oh रे फिर से वही कीड़ा वाला डायग्राम मैम ने बना दिया. So you'll be like, so let us consider this is an insect or some creature. Fine. So it has multiple legs, you can see that. Now you can also see that it has 2 eyes. और इसके बॉडी में अंदर ढेर सारा ऑर्गन्स भी होगा. We can presume that, right? So like let's say there will be lungs and there will be heart and there will be the excretory system and then there will be integumentary system and all those different types of systems. Let us consider. So with that, I'm going to take this class. ये दोनों आप रख दीजिए, मैं मिलाकर पी लूँगी. So with respect to this, when we talk about the given possibility, we all can reflect upon the fact that होता क्या है. So we all can see that when an organism is functioning, so it is the eyes in coordination with the mouth, in coordination with the legs, in coordination with other internal organs, that the entire body is functioning. Same सोसाइटी ऐसे ही फंक्शन करती है. सोसाइटी के डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स, कम्युनिटीज, सो सोसाइटी के डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स, कम्युनिटीज सारे एकजुट होके, ऑल ऑफ देम come together and they all cooperate in the functioning of the society effortlessly. Fine. So when we are talking about this, the way the organism works, in the similar manner a society works. So society का political system, economic system, religious system, education system, law and order, like the other kind of small and big organizations, communities, associations, they all will be cooperating with each other. And that is how a society functions effectively. This is called organismic analogy. Herbert Spencer, basically he was a journalist working with the Economist. But Spencer had a very good command over biology. So because he had very good command over biology, and he also used to write articles on economics also. So he took this example from biology. His example was carried by Durkheim, who's another thinker in the syllabus. Durkheim used the same idea, and he said there is interdependence on various institutions of the society, which which facilitates the functioning of the society per se. So we can see that the third component is social survey, which also was quite important in the development of modern day sociology. तो दो कारण से ये डेवलप होता है सोशल सर्वे. One is that people started trusting natural science methods more. So there was constant growth in the popularity of natural sciences. And people believed that it could be extended to the study of human affairs. And the human phenomena, it could also be, we all could see that it could also be classified and measured. So the human phenomena could be classified and measured. Now I'm actually calculating that after how much time I'm coughing. So it is almost 1 to 2 minutes break that I'm continuously coughing. And I'm really sorry for that. That the initial sessions, generally, if you would have seen me in earlier sessions, or if you have ever attended any of my GS classes, you must have seen me very energetic. But throat is the key to delivery. If the throat does not cooperate, it becomes little tedious. And it's like cough, cold, fever, all of it creating the rupture. मतलब आई जस्ट विश एक हफ्ता लेट भी ये बीमारी हुई होती तो ठीक था. एकदम सेशन की शुरुआत में इट्स लाइक आई डोंट नो. Now, so we can further see when we are talking about this social survey method. So it facilitated scientific approach to observe the society. So we could classify things, we could also measure things, like for example, how many people are married, how many are unmarried, how many are divorced, how many are married with children, how many are divorced with children, and then measuring, like let's say, how many of them have a tendency to commit suicide, and then propounding that which type has a greater tendency to commit suicide. And then thinkers like Durkheim will be then using these surveys and saying that, well, people who are more connected to the society have lesser tendency to commit suicide. People who are less connected to the society have a higher tendency to commit suicide. For example, अकेला बंदा जिसकी शादी नहीं हुई है और जिसकी शादी हुई है, उनमें जो अकेला बंदा है वो ज़्यादा वल्नरेबल है. Suppose किसी की शादी हुई है, suppose they are married and they have a child, they are having less tendency to commit suicide because they are connected to the baby. And a person who has, like, let us consider the person who has died, okay, when we talk about it. So the person, like let us say, who has died, when observed, and then it is realized that this person was married but did not have children and had some strained relationship. So then it was concluded that people who are married with child have lesser tendency to commit suicide. अब ये क्या हो गया? सर्वे. और इस सर्वे से क्या निकला? डाटा. और इस डाटा से क्या हुआ? We all could propound, we all could presume that who has a higher tendency. So classification and measurement, ये वर्ड अब समझ में आ रहा है सबको? Classification and measurement. Yes. Are you understanding the word classification and measurement? No, Prachi, you don't need to refer anything beyond this right now. Okay, don't overwhelm yourself. What is given, first memorize it so very thoroughly that if anyone, even in your sleep, shakes you and starts asking, you are capable to respond. Soon, the moment I complete this segment of the chapter, that is tomorrow, I will show you the previous year questions. Except one question, which is a combination of question coming from the chapter of family, marriage, kinship. Except that question, you'll realize with this material, you're able to respond almost all the questions which have been asked by UPSC in last 30 years. Okay? Now, so the other way was concerned with poverty. So you can collect data related to poverty. What is the idea of poverty? How poverty is not a natural condition. A person is not by birth born with a situation. It's not a physical disability. If it's not a physical disability, it's a social condition. And if it is a social condition, it can be eliminated with social reasons, with social interventions. So we all could see that a lot of surveys were facilitating the capability to study the society scientifically, to observe the social problems scientifically. For example, people were also studying Sinclair survey. Through the help of Sinclair survey, they were able to understand the social problems and also provide solution to it. Acha, I gave this homework to all of you. I said that if there'll be questions, I'll respond, else I'll skip. So I had explained how American Revolution influenced French Revolution yesterday in the class briefly. I said you can read it. It's just barely a page of information. You read it, understand the details. If there are doubts, you can ask. So any doubts related to this, how American War of Independence paved the way for French Revolution. It's a typical history question, but still it's important because that is also shaping sociology. Any doubts related to it? किसी को कोई doubt? Yes, behavior can also be divided into categories and it can be measured. That can also be done. Today only there was a girl who was trying to capture a lot of data by random strangers asking them that can you please take a little survey. I'll just ask couple of questions related to online shopping, and few people responded well. They're like, yes, we can. How many questions are there? She said barely 10. So yes, all that also happens. Individualized surveys, sample surveys, mass scale surveys, all that takes place. We'll be discussing about it in chapter 3, research methods and techniques, later. Yes. So any question related to American War of Independence? Yeah. And French Revolution? Was it easy yesterday? Yes. You went through the material. Any doubts related to it? अभी तो कोई नहीं पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया. लाओ अभी पढ़ के देख लेते हैं. अभी डाउट पकड़ लेते हैं. ऐसी चमत्कारी हरकत कोई नहीं करेगा. ठीक है. डाउट होगा तो आप बाद में भी पूछ सकते हैं. इट्स नॉट दैट इट्स ओवर वंस एंड फॉर ऑल. यू कैन ऑलवेज गेट बैक टू मी. So French Revolution, I had shared the three estate, right? The first estate, clergy or people who were related to religion and church. Second estate was the nobility. So I spoke of the noble of swords and noble of robes, all that stuff, right? So, and then I discussed about common people. That was the third estate. So, and the details were mentioned तो है यहाँ पे देखो ना. यहाँ पे I've just given you in the diagram that kings and queens, nobles of sword, princes of royal blood, dukes, marquis, that is the counts, viscount, baron, knights, they are, and the nobles of the robe. So when we are talking about the people who are associated with nobles of sword and noble of robe, nobles of sword were the ones who were, जैसे नाइट्स वाइट्स होते हैं जो लोग कहीं ना कहीं Will this class be recorded? Yes, everything is being recorded. So we can see that all these people, they are the ones who are open to, we can say, fight, protect the territory. And then there are people who are given symbolic political power, who are not into warfare. Okay, so that is how you can connect with the two. Fine. Okay. Uske baad further when we are talking about it, so we all can, oh god, so here we all can see that after the three categories I spoke of how the revolution unfolded. फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन में क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है कि कौन सी ऐसी चीजें हैं फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन की जो सोशियोलॉजी को पेव की. सो फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट द आइडियल्स शेप द आइडिया ऑफ मॉडर्न स्टेट. The ideals promoted the idea of logic, how human beings should be living. यार मैं रही हूँ बहुत ज़्यादा थक, ठीक है, अब बहुत ज़्यादा गले में पेन हो रहा है, मतलब अब लग रहा है ऐसे स्क्रैच पड़ के या छिलकर ब्लड आ जाएगा. सो आई थिंक वी शुड call the session off today a bit early, 30 minutes early, considering the fact that my health is not permitting. As I suggested, that had I been so unhealthy on a regular day, then I would have called off the session. But considering that अब ये शुरुआत का था, and first 3 days I just wanted to the students to be there, like, you know, little connected and vigilant. I'm doing gargling. Think I'll be in a better position tomorrow. So let me just call it off. एक बार फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन आप इसको पढ़ लेंगे. फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन में क्या हुआ ये कोई नहीं पूछेगा. ये पूछेगा हाउ फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन और पॉलिटिकल रेवोल्यूशन कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी. तो उसमें ऑल यू नीड इज लाइक यू नो व्हाट गेट्स चैलेंज. तो इसमें जैसे ये वाला आपका जो डायग्राम है रिलेटेड टू फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन की क्या कब हुआ, तो इसमें कुछ नहीं. दिस वाला पार्ट जो है व्हाट वाज बीइंग like you know created, the divine rights getting questioned, personal liberty becoming a right for all individuals. So slavery or serfdom, despotism, hereditary privileges, all of this started getting questioned, and questioning will lead us to modernity. Modernity will pave the way for sociology. So यही बस आपको थोड़ा सा एक brief understanding होना चाहिए. Industrial revolution का भी मैं आपको liberal ideology and all that I was discussing, so that's what you will be finding related to the same, that it is giving birth to rational principles. And when we are talking about rational principles, how we can see that that logical or rational principles is going to shape the possibility of change. So development of science and commerce. Science and commerce we were talking about in intellectual revolution, if you remember, period of enlightenment. So when science and commerce will develop, it will also shape modernity. So commercial revolution is actually, it is period of renaissance, moving to because 1450 to 1650 will be renaissance, 1650 to 1800 will be period of enlightenment. So commercial revolution is happening at both the times. It is from renaissance to period of enlightenment, commercial revolution is happening. Now when we use the word commercial revolution, what is it all about? So the things which I had discussed yesterday in the class, that Europe is relatively small in size, so they will go for, like, you know, finding new sea routes and trying to like explore more. So all that stuff you will be finding. So commercial revolution, how the entire world will undergo the change, middle class will emerge, like, you know, a lot of sea routes and trade and joint stock company, paper bills will be introduced, salt and currency and coinage, all that will be removed. So all those changes, along with a lot of scientific revolution. Scientific revolution हम लोग आज डिस्कस कर ही रहे थे, इफ यू रिमेंबर कॉपरनिकस की बात कर रहे थे, जियोसेंट्रिक हीलियोसेंट्रिक थियरी, है ना. विलियम हार्वी जो है उन्होंने सर्कुलेशन ऑफ ब्लड को निकाला. वही सर्कुलेशन ऑफ ब्लड जो है वो स्पेंसर का ऑर्गेनिज्मिक एनालॉजी में भी काम आता है. सर जैसे ब्लड सर्कुलेट करता है, सारे ऑर्गन्स को कनेक्ट करता है, तो ऐसे एक सोसाइटी, उसके सारे पार्ट्स कैसे इंटरकनेक्टेड होते हैं, तो वो सारा आइडिया, सो यू विल गेट दोज पर्सपेक्टिव्स एंड इनसाइट्स ओवर हियर. फिर इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन, विच इज आफ्टर, we can say in later phase of the period of what is it, enlightenment to post enlightenment, that is the time period of industrial revolution, which will change the living conditions of the people, because people will migrate and large scale production. So when there is gigantic production, a lot of changes will happen. So what are the social changes that occur? This is something, this part is something which is important for you, this. So industrial revolution will cause these 7 changes. Rapid urbanization, people will move from joint family to nuclear family, status of women will change, there'll be mass production, mechanization, agrarian to industrial economy, feudalist to capitalist society. The middle class will emerge as a profound class, impacting the intellectual quotient of the society. Poverty will increase because poverty is a social condition and industrialization contributes to it, because it increases the divide between rich and poor. Rich control all the means of production, labor, everything, technology, money, and they don't share the surplus, they don't share the profit, they don't give bonuses very frequently. So who hoards the profit? आपने देखा ना, अभी अंबानी जी ने नमकीन भुजिया का पैकेट और एक चांदी का सिक्का पकड़ा दिया सारे रिलायंस एम्प्लॉइज को. सबने कहा जस्टिन बीबर का जो पेमेंट हुआ है, वो जो अपना अंडरवियर दिखाते हुए उसने जो बनियान अंडरवियर पहन के आ गया था, थोड़ा सा बस जीन्स था बीच में लटका हुआ, तो उस पर जो उसको पेमेंट हुआ है, उस पेमेंट पे हर रिलायंस एम्प्लॉय के सैलरी में थाउजेंड्स ऑफ रुपीज कुड हैव बीन एडेड. आई होप यू रिमेंबर दैट. नो, यू डिडंट नोटिस? अरे मजेदार न्यूज भी पढ़ा करो, उससे भी तुम्हारा सेंस ऑफ सार्काज्म स्ट्रांग होगा, सेंस ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग स्ट्रांग होगा, एंड दैट विल मेक लर्निंग जॉयस. तो एक इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट अपने बच्चे की शादी में करोड़ों करोड़ रुपए खर्च कर डाला है, राइट, गेस्ट लिस्ट को स्किंटिलेटिंग बनाने के लिए, लोगों को खूब सारा पैसा देकर एक बहुत एक्सपेंसिव सा गेस्ट लिस्ट बनाने में दिस पर्सन हैज कंट्रीब्यूटेड, विच ऑल ऑफ यू आर अवेयर ऑफ. नाउ when we talk about it, we all can see that on one hand, in the same city, that is Mumbai, people die due to floods, people die in manholes while cleaning the gutter, and in the same city there is so much of pompousness and display of wealth. So that's why poverty is a human condition. It is a social condition. It's not a natural or a biological condition. And because it's a social condition, it can be rectified. And that's why poverty is a byproduct of industrialization. Because industrialists will try to hoard the money. अभी कोई कंप्लेन कर रहा था कि जियो वालों ने प्रीपेड का बढ़ा दिया, रिचार्ज बढ़ा दिया, लड़के की शादी क्या कर दी, रिचार्ज बढ़ा दिया. अच्छा, आप लोग को भी चलो उसका तो इम्पैक्ट पता है. तो when you talk about all this, so someone is hoarding the profit. If someone is hoarding the profit, that means someone has to pay the price, and the one who will pay the price will be suffering from poverty. So religion also gets displaced, matlab removed. And who displaces it? Science, right? Earlier people felt God is omnipotent, omnipresent. Now people are like, it is science which can explain everything and related to everything. So that's what. ठीक है, तो इतने तक आप एक बार पढ़िएगा, ठीक है, और पढ़कर आइएगा. कोई भी डाउट होगा यहाँ तक तो आप पूछेंगे. आई विल स्टार्ट विद द फाउंडिंग फादर्स ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी. यहाँ से इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है गेम, बिकॉज यहाँ से आप सोशियोलॉजी में पैर घुसा देते हैं. यू स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग सोशियोलॉजी more exhaustively with respect to who the thinkers are and what are they contributing. ठीक. So from here onwards, we are going to start tomorrow and understand how sociology emerged as a discipline, who are the thinkers who have contributed to the same. All these words that I was talking about, like August Comte talking about theological society, metaphysical, positivism, ये सब भी आपको दिखेगा. So a lot of familiarity will also be established with the content, because I keep throwing the ideas which I'm going to discuss in future beforehand while I'm teaching the topic. So I did that also, so that you don't feel overwhelmed suddenly listening to the terms. A revisiting of the terms keeps happening. All right. So for today, I'll just keep the session so far. We'll continue with this discussion tomorrow. All right. So take care, everyone. Let's meet tomorrow once again. Thank you so much. And yes, if you have doubts, you can raise your doubts in the group. I can solve it there as well. Okay. Fine then.